Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day, much better day than I am. Woke up in a world of pain, but hey, that's just the way it goes, right? Sometimes you gotta deal with some unfortunate circumstances. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at Bitcoin, help you understand best practice, big picture. If you're new to the channel, been trading for over 17 years. I just truly love my job and interacting with my community and helping people get where they need to go. So I do have a trading academy, community, and signal group. Link in the description below. Check that out in your own time, of course. And if you want to become a better trader, obviously, check that out because, dude, we got some really awesome traders in there. And some are day trading, some are swing trading. We've also got signals that I send out for every single trade that I take. And I mean, look here, Bitcoin 80% in 3 days, Ethereum 77% in 2 days. We also hit a pretty big XRP recently too. Sure, it took 5 days to hit, but 61%. Hey, not all bad, right? So again, mostly profitable situations, and it's definitely looking pretty good in the overall sense of things. So obviously check that out in your own time. And if you're curious why I'm using my left hand to mouse, I was in an accident on Monday. I was walking my dog, and I got attacked by 2 pit bulls. We both got sent to the emergency room, and this is the result. So fun stuff. Be careful, be cautious out there if you are walking your dog. I talked to animal control, and they said that you want to probably travel with like a collapsible baton or an air horn of some sort. So I'll be prepared next time. We'll see what happens. So anyways, all right. Here's where we're at for Bitcoin. Obviously, it's descending here, and if I recall correctly, yesterday I mentioned that the 50-day set moving average is kind of that catalyst for the uptrend or the downtrend. Now we got to recognize too, the traditional markets open like crap today. They're total garbage today. So to preface here, down 2.5% for Nasdaq. Look at that gap down. Same thing with S&P 500. A pretty significant gap as well. So when those things occur and the dollar index is pretty much up, for lack of better terms, you're going to see some red from Bitcoin. Look at this. Dollar index, the last 3 days are green. Bitcoin, last 3 days are red. It's just a common characteristic. So understand there is definitely an inverse pairing there between traditional markets and the dollar index, and Bitcoin is fairly synonymous with traditional markets here. So that's why weekends are always kind of funky and weekdays kind of almost exactly follow suit to where the traditional markets are going. Keep this in mind though, Bitcoin's doing a lot better in the last 2 weeks than a traditional market has been, right? So you kind of see this here. Yes, there's a pairing, but there's also a complete separation as well. So I think that's something positive to kind of celebrate there because it's a really good thing to kind of observe, you could say. Anyways, all that going into how that ties into the 50-day set moving average is a simple fact that we are stuck below this level, and it's disallowing us to essentially break above. Okay, so even though we've broken this descending trend, which I mentioned as a positive, I also mentioned doesn't mean we're bullish out of the gates, right? We're going to probably be range bound for some time. That being said, though, we can see the 50-day set moving average working as a resistance level here, and it might take a little while for the price action to get back up above. Not saying it's never going to happen because we are range bound for lack of better terms, and oftentimes when you're range bound, it's just a matter of time before it recovers. So I'm confident in our trade that we took yesterday that technically hit profit target number 1 but didn't trigger on Cornix. It's a different story altogether. But suffice to say, we're looking still very good for second, third, and fourth profit targets, okay? So try not to over worry yourself. It may be advantageous to consider a second entry down maybe closer to 19,200, but we'll find out here shortly if that's even a realistic probability or not, okay? So again, a lot of cool stuff going on right now, but generally speaking, we're seeing this bearish divergence for the moment. So just to touch on something really quick to kind of throw it out there, the consolation here is that we are definitely still making higher lows. Okay, so I'm not super concerned just yet. Even if it came down to 19.2, that'd be all well and good. Just a better lower entry for us on average, right? So again, good stuff there in that sense from Bitcoin. When it comes to, see here, the relative strength index, we are tentatively losing 50. And I say tentative because of the simple fact that, well, simply put, the day hasn't closed yet, right? Trading day hasn't closed. And what you'll see a lot of times will happen is close to the end of the trading day, like really close to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, you'll see a push up or a push down to try to close above or below a specific area on the daily. That's a very common occurrence. So just be mindful of the fact that this isn't finished yet, and is absolutely not a bad thing yet, but it could be, if that makes sense. And once again, if it drops below 50 on the RSI, it's not like it's going to just crash down, okay? We got to recognize that. But it doesn't necessarily give us a good warm fuzzy feeling either, right? I don't feel great if the price is under 50 on the RSI, just generally speaking, because you can see what happens when it is, right? So there's 50 on the RSI, and there is the price action concurrent with that. So not great. All right, so that's kind of where we're at there in that sense. MACD isn't really telling us too much. It does look like we are losing the bullish momentum, but that is pretty standard. Again, I don't put a lot of weight into the MACD on the daily. I think the 4 hours is the most appropriate one time frame to identify. Why don't we go ahead and jump right into that too and see here. This tells us kind of a lot in a way, right? So as we can see, we were trying to come up here, of course, but instead we got rejected to the downside. So for right now, obviously not enough data to extract appropriate information here and to know which definitive direction it's heading, but it's obviously on its way down, all right? Now, does that mean it's going to continue down lower? Well, what we want to look at is exhaustive states to find out if it's going to, and if we're at this point where it's like, we're at this critical mass and the price should turn around based on standard deviation. We'll look at smaller time frames to identify that here in just a moment, but on the 4 hour, what we can do to kind of extract that is to just kind of briefly look at TD sequential. We can see we're 7 hours into a downtrend. Commonly, you'll see a reversal around a 9. So hypothetically, the price could come lower, but we would only likely have two to maybe 6 more hours of continuation of the downside. So all that being said, we're not in terrible shape here with Bitcoin, but it's also not fantastic. I know I say that a lot. It's like, okay, well, it's not good, it's not bad. Well, what the heck does that mean? Well, you get a lot of false positives in trading. So you got to recognize that in a lot of ways with something like this here, excuse me, we are looking at a situation where it could come lower, but the likelihood of a tremendously lower drop is pretty low. Unless traditional markets jump down another 3 or 4%, we should be okay to be able to hold this price point roughly where it's at. All right, so again, when it comes to this continuation of the downside, we do have roughly 2 more candlesticks left. That means roughly 8 hours of continuation of the downside as potential. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 1 hour here while I still have my voice left intact. I apologize. I am all sorts of unhealthy right now. So let's see here. What we're looking at, of course, is this support level at 19,800. That didn't hold as a support. It retested it multiple times, and as per trading laws, you retest a resistance or support level multiple times, you'll see the price action continue that direction. That being said, it did break to the downside, so we should expect that to be a resistance level moving forward. But I wouldn't say this is going to be a super strong resistance because this just came down and there's a chance we could resurface, right? The thing I want to take away here is that we are making higher lows. Again, this is important here on the larger time frames. Granted, if you take a look at the hourly, you could argue also that we're making lower lows. And that's absolutely true. We're also making lower highs too. So until this immediate downtrend discontinues, we should expect it to continue lower. Okay, again, based on TD sequential, we should have somewhere in the range of 4 to 8 more hours of downside before the price action recovers. So if I were you and you're going to add just say a second position of Bitcoin, for example, if you took the trade from yesterday, you may want to wait a little bit longer because there's definitely more potential for a further downside here. So just keep that in mind, all right? So again, the micro here on the hourly doesn't look fantastic so far. Let's see if there's anything else that confirms that for us. First of all, TD sequential, we look at this here. Got a handful of resets, so it really just tells us that the price action isn't extremely reacting. In other words, we're not hitting 9s and or 9 pluses anytime the price comes up to a certain level. So it's actually a positive sign in the overall sense, which implies with us being at a 4, we might have only a couple more hours left to go. Okay, so again, that doesn't tell us too much. What does probably tell us a lot is the Ichimoku cloud. We had this pretty swift break. We've got roughly maybe 12 more hours of bearish divergence before the lagging span intersects with the current price action. Conversion lines below the baseline, implying that the momentum has shifted bearishly, and we're obviously well below the cloud. So literally, it's telling us that we should short right now. But you got to keep in mind, we're already partially overextended to the downside, and we've got some support levels below this. So there's a small handful of reasons why taking a short right now may not be advantageous, but it depends on your trading style. Okay, if you're going to just take a short position to be held for a long period of time, that may not be advantageous, because I feel as if Bitcoin should continue to make higher lows and continue upwards in the overall sense of things. But in the immediate future, there's no doubt that we're on a downtrend. We're only 4 hours into this continuation that could last another 5 hours. So why just jump right in? Okay, so again, if you're going to be shorting as a day trader, different story altogether. It absolutely looks prime for the picking. If you're going to be shorting as a swing trader, though, I would hesitate and exercise caution. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, because honestly, it really just depends on your overall trading style. Last thing we want to look at is standard deviation here, and this is the thing I want to kind of talk about here as well, give you perspective on how volume weighted average price works. In other words, volume weighted average price is a phenomenal tool, I personally feel, for identifying trends and trend reversals. It's very similar to Bollinger Bands. A lot of folks will use Bollinger Bands and RSI. I like to use volume weighted average price and RSI. Again, that's more me being a traditional trader, because what happens with the volume weighted average price is it resets every 24 hours to kind of give you a new average of the volume. Okay, it's not a rolling average, it's essentially a new average. So that being said, when you have a new average essentially here today, what we're looking at is the blue line here in the middle is the volume weighted average price. That's telling us what the price should be based on the current price action. For lack of better terms, what it basically is telling us is that right here at about 19,800 is going to be a resistance level. We already know that because that's a previous support, but generally speaking, the volume is telling us that we should see the price action at that point. Since it's below that, it's considered to be bearish, and this will work as a resistance level. So the price comes back up, it'll probably reject off of the actual volume weighted average price, which coincidentally is aligning itself with 19,800. No surprise, that happens all the time. But what I'm getting at here, and the important thing to note, is when you have these standard deviations here, where the price action kind of comes outside those lines, this is where the day traders jump into play, okay? Because you look at this on the 1 minute, and you can kind of see pretty distinctly that you should probably try to get in when the price is well outside those deviation lines, okay? So again, something to kind of think about. I basically teach this in my trading university, so if you want to become a better trader, again, cryptocash.tech is a site for that. I effectively teach you all that I know, and volume weighted average price is one of my sweet spots there. I've done some really good day trading with that. You could also exercise a very similar experience as well, or just very very similar approach with Bollinger Bands, and then you can look at overextension. So for right now, just say for example, the price action is down here, getting overextended on the RSI, and it's outside the deviation here. So this increase right here, this little scalp, for example, it would be good to take entry at 19,560 and then to exit at 19,580. Okay, again, those are some of my traders are doing right now, and what they're doing is they're using, what is it, somewhere in the range of 125x if I'm not mistaken, and they're doing little scalps just like that. Get in at 19,908, get out at 19,996. And they're essentially using those Bollinger Bands and or RSI for the strategy. Okay, so again, little things to kind of note. These are all day trading techniques that I don't cover in most of my videos, but I try not to do that much, because if you're swing trading and you just try to become a day trader and you use the same philosophies, it doesn't work. They're two different mindsets, so you got to separate them entirely. Always use two separate accounts if you're going to be using day trading versus swing trading, okay? Try not to just jump between the two. And also get really good at one coin and just trade the heck out of that. There's no shame in just trading one coin. I traded natural gas and crude oil for years when I was day trading the traditional markets. And those futures were fantastic. They were really awesome, and it really just helped me, elevate my game. But the reason why is because I studied them and understood them specifically. So if you're jumping in and out of different coins based on volatility, etc., you're probably not doing it right until you are very good at trading, okay? Again, just some little things to kind of think about. So I hope that I didn't get too wordy here. Geez, okay, 13 minutes. I think I got to call it a day here. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you learned something today. If you did, comment below, let me know. Please follow me on social media. Definitely looking to try to get a larger base there. Going to have more consistent Bitcoin updates and things along those lines to help keep you abreast. But for now, I greatly appreciate all of your support regardless of what that looks like. You are all very awesome. And thanks again for everything. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your day.